much nicer than no,
That's why other people are doing this, yes.
Well, I thought since we're in tax season, I'd talk a little bit about taxes and how I get involved. There are usually two situations. It's either someone who hasn't filed in one, or had up to 25 years of non-filing, or someone who's filed but just hasn't paid the amounts that they owed. And in either case, my first response is, all right, you actually really need to contact the IRS now, sooner rather than later, because things are going on, but you don't want them to end up in a situation where your bank account's gone. Or you decide you want to buy a house, and all of a sudden, well, you know, you really can't sell your house right now because there's a federal tax lien, and that needs to be taken care of. So my first thing is always to let's contact the IRS. Secondly would be, if it's a non-filing case, say, call Leslie because you really need to get those returns done. And so what people don't understand that's going on behind the scenes is you may not have done any of that. The IRS, not actually, once they find out and they kind of are catching up to you, they're going all the way back to when the return should have been filed or the amount should have been paid, and calculating interest and penalties on those amounts, and it's compounding daily, the interest is. So it's, most times by the time you deal with someone, their amount is doubled because of the penalties and interest. And interest doesn't go away. We can work with penalties. Interest is there to stay, and the IRS's attitude towards that is, you borrowed money from us, and you'll pay interest on it like any other loan. So those are, you kind of want to get in as quickly as possible, stop that clock running. And another thing that people don't understand is, with the IRS, there's a time limit for them to collect money from you. It's a statute of limitations, it's 10 years. After that, you can owe them $50 million, and they can't collect. But that time only starts running once you file. If you never file, your statute of limitations never runs, and they can collect in perpetuity. Now, Georgia Department of Revenue is a little bit different. I really don't like working with them because they're difficult and usually not friendly people. But they don't have the same statute of limitations. They can keep refiling every 6 years, and they can continue to collect the debt as long as it's owed. So there are 4 real options in dealing with past debt with the IRS. The first one is pay everything you owe. Rarely an option. Most people who come to me are not in a position where they can say, yeah, I know I owe you $50,000 and I'm just going to write a check. And even if you could, most people don't want to, and I totally understand that. The second option is what's called a currently not collectible status. And what that is we go through and we do their financials, and we determine that they really can't make payments. And we get the IRS to designate that they cannot make payments on their debt right now based upon their situation. So they get granted that status, and what happens is, no, the IRS doesn't try to collect, they're fine, there's no levies, they will file a lien depending on the amount, but they're fine for a period of time, and there's no set period of time. Within probably 2 years, the IRS will come back and say, well, where are you today? Can you now start making payments? And for some people, that status continues through, the statute of limitations continues to run. So if you stay in that position until the end of your statute of limitations, again, you're done, nothing's owed, you move on. The third option is the one that you kind of hear about in all of the ads of, we can help you with IRS tax debt, we can have you pay pennies on the dollar kind of thing, and you don't hear about from the IRS because they don't necessarily mention this option, and that's called an offer in compromise. And what that is the taxpayer makes an offer to the IRS and says, okay, for example, and this is one I actually did, I owe you $90,000. I'm offering to pay you $35,000, and we say, we're done. We walk away, you're good, and it's going to be a combination of what your assets are and what the IRS thinks your projected income is, whether or not it'll be an acceptable plan. But there's a way of determining what your amount should be. You make that offer, and in this particular case, we actually owed 90, made an offer of 35, and got a really, really good result in that the IRS came back 6 months after we made the offer and said, you know what, how about we do this? If you resubmit your offer to me and offer to pay $7,000, we'll call it done.
Wow.
And by this point, my client had been making payments, or already paid the $7,000. I said, are you sure that that's what you want to do? They said, yes, if you would make that offer to us, we'll accept it right now. Made the offer, we're done. And client was happy, I was happy. That worked out wonderful. And then the fourth option is a installment payment plan. And there are two types of those. The first one is called a streamlined installment payment plan. It works, it's the best thing. I tell people, actually, you don't even need me to do this. If your debt is under $50,000, you can call the IRS, say, okay, I want to pay this off in 6 years. You divide whatever the debt is by 72, that's your monthly payment, you're done. You don't have to provide them documents, you don't have to show what your income is. That's it, simple, easy plan. The other one is an installment payment plan, and that's one where they will ask for documentation of finances, see what you can pay, and try to get you, we had the battle, they want you to pay as much, I want you to pay as little, and that will last to the earlier of the debt being paid off or the running of the statute of limitations, but that's calculated based on assets and income. So those are really the four options with the IRS. Georgia Department of Revenue, again, don't like them as much. They really only have two options. You pay the entire thing, or you can do a 36-month installment payment plan. That's as far as they go, and they tend to say, well, you know what, if you can't do that, file bankruptcy, that's it, we're just not really concerned. So they are the ones you deal with first, and then the IRS second, because the IRS takes into account state payments if you're making those. So that's just kind of a little quick primer on what the options are in dealing with a past debt. Kim Phipps,